Hello Aries, and welcome to my channel Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we'll look at your energy toward it, their energy toward it, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section is looking at what is the deeper purpose of the connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. On that note, and especially if you're a cross watcher, just know that this whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that is totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and leave what doesn't. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Aries, let's jump on in here. We're going to start with overall energy for the connection. So we're going to begin by pulling for your side of this connection, your energy toward the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. This is Aries' side of this connection. Okay, separation. So you and this person are in separation here. You have reciprocity with fate. I feel like this separation wasn't necessarily your choice. That doesn't mean that you weren't the one to walk away, but I feel like you either, I feel like a dog hair on my nose, I think. This person either walked away or they did something that pushed you to walk away. Either way, I feel like it didn't feel like your choice. And I feel like with this fate card here, you're really struggling with a lot of your beliefs around love and ultimately what's possible for you in love. Because I feel like the way that this connection ended, it's almost this eerily like familiar feeling. Almost like you're used to being in this place of loss. You're used to being left or abandoned or betrayed or like whatever word specifically fits for you. And I feel like there's a lot of just stress around like, am I ever going to have the love that I deserve? Am I ever going to find it? You know, is this person going to come back or like make better choices or whatever the case is? I am so confused. I can see it. You see, like I can see it on my nose. It looks like a dog hair. And I feel it, but I can't grab it. So sorry, I'll leave it alone. All right, this person's energy toward you, Aries. Interesting. Boundaries. Oh, but like, I feel like this person has built a pretty heavy wall up around themselves here. There's friendship and there's the reciprocity card again. Okay, so this is filling a little bit more of the blanks in here. I feel like this person has a desire to have you in their life. However, I feel like the depth of the connection that they desire is a lot less than what it is that you need. And I feel like that is, you crave maybe a deeper connection or more vulnerability or emotional availability or whatever the case is. And it feels like this is something that this person really struggles with. So what they give is a lot less than what you give. I feel like you give a lot of that emotional depth and vulnerability and, consistency and all of that. I feel like that isn't really reciprocated. And I feel like a big part of that is because of like, if you look at this boundaries card, it's a fence, right? So it's almost like this person has built this fence around themselves, around their life to keep people out or like to keep people at a distance. So no matter how hard you try to like pull this person closer or to choose them, love them, be there for them, it feels like they worked equally as hard to try to push you away and keep you at this distance until eventually you know, it led to this separation one way or another. So I think that because of that, there's almost this like, especially if this person was like, you know, they want the relationship and the benefits without like the commitment, or without the, even if you are married, like without the effort, right? They want you to do all of the emotional labor, maybe even the physical labor in the relationship, and they, you know, kind of just get to sit back and enjoy the benefits. It just feels like in general, you gave and gave and gave and gave and gave and gave and gave. And this person just didn't reciprocate that until, like I said, eventually it led to the separation. And I feel like that can be really hard, because when you do give so much to somebody and they don't reciprocate, no matter how hard you try, of course you're going to start to wonder, like, am I good enough? Does this mean that I'm not good enough? Does this mean that everything that I have to give isn't enough? But that's never the case. You know, if everything you have to give is enough, you are enough. But I will say sometimes the people who make us feel like we're not enough are sometimes our biggest lessons in learning to see our own worth and value outside of other people. But there's so much more to it than that. So let's look at this truth of the connection between Aries and this person. Divine timing. Divine timing is at work in your love life. You know, divine timing isn't about a specific day and time, but it's about when we fully align with whatever it is we're trying to attract, or whatever it is we're trying to draw in. When we align with it with our feelings of self-worth and worthiness and deservingness and things of that nature. You know, we tend to attract relationships that reflect back at us beliefs that we carry about ourselves. And when we reflect back beliefs like, I am unlovable, or I'm not good enough, or what I have to give isn't enough, then there's a part of us that might continue to attract people that show us that, you know, we're unworthy, we're undeserving. And those are not truths. It's not a truth that you're unworthy or undeserving, but it is highlighting something that needs to be addressed and healed. But yeah, I feel like Spirit wants you to know that divine timing is at work in your love life. And when it comes to having love, because you have this romance card too, when it comes to having love, the love that you desire, the love that you deserve, it is very possible for you. It might feel impossible, and you might be struggling with that right now, depending on how, you know, this relationship has played out. But I do feel like there's some things that are needing to be addressed on your end to heal, you know, grow in some way to help you attract the relationships that you deserve. Now, there is this confusion card. So I feel like the way that this connection played out, I feel like there's just confusion of like, why did this happen? Or, you know, why was this person placed in my life if it meant that I couldn't have what it is that I desired? Like, I feel like there's a lot of wondering what the purpose of this was. And I will say, in between this, we do answer the question, what is the deeper purpose of the connection? So hopefully throughout this reading, you can draw in some clarity for you guys around this. Overall theme of this reading here for Aries. What is Aries needing to know about this connection? It's like you wanted more from this. You wanted more from them, and that's okay. You're allowed to have more here. You know, changes will be made, but it's changes to self. This is pushing for changes in your energy field. Options are kept open. Yeah, you don't deserve to be treated like an option. You don't deserve to be treated like a choice. You deserve to be treated, well, I guess that, yeah, like you are the choice. Like someone is choosing you, not like you're in the mix of choices, I guess. And I think that that's a lot of what this came down to. It's like you held, you know, so much love for them. And I feel like you, like all of the things that you would do for them, it just felt like they wouldn't do those things for you. You do have I am their light here. So I feel like you maybe do see how this person struggles with pushing people away, or, struggles to open up. And I feel like you want to be maybe that person, or wanted to be that person, to make them feel loved and make them feel safe. And no matter how hard you try, it's like they wouldn't let you almost. So I feel like there's a lot to this story, and to understanding the larger dynamic at play. So that, because a lot of times when we, get used to the same outcome in a relationship, we do start to believe this is my fate. I'm just always going to experience this kind of relationship or this kind of experience, and there's nothing around it. Or like there's no way around it. But then we have to look at, no, that's a cycle, right? If some sort of undesired outcome keeps showing up in your life time and time again, that's a cycle. That's not a truth. That's not an end, that doesn't mean that that's the end of your journey or the end of the road for you or the only option. It means that there's something that is blocking the thing that you're desiring. And that cycle is trying to help you heal, grow, evolve, expand in some way to lead you closer to that. So let's dive into this further here, Aries. You have separation with fate. Ooh. This is Aries' side of the connection to the person they are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. Aries side of this connection. Magician with the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Sun in reverse. The Four of Pentacles. It's like it's like, oh my gosh, I found it. This is the love that I desire. It's all working out, to like, psych. Like, that's what it feels like here. I feel like you were really blindsided and really felt like, I don't know, like the universe betrayed you in some way with how things unfolded here. Yeah, okay. Four of Pentacles, Magician, Wheel of Fortune in reverse, Sun in reverse, Four of Pentacles, Nine of Pentacles, Ace of Wands. The feelings that you had / maybe even have for this person are strong, like really strong. There is a lot of intensity in these feelings. And I feel like that immediately had you in this expectation of like, oh my gosh, this is it. Because I feel like it was maybe a pretty immediate attraction, or things were very like immediate's the best word. Even if you didn't move quickly, it feels like the connection was pretty immediate. This Magician card, it's all about what is being manifested into our life, right? It's the accumulation of our thoughts, beliefs, and actions coming into our reality. And every single moment of every single day, we are manifesting. Our thoughts, our beliefs, and our acts our thoughts, beliefs, and actions are manifesting. Manifesting isn't something we don't do or we do consciously do. It is something we are always doing. However, sometimes we aren't consciously doing it. Sometimes it is happening subconsciously. And I feel like this person was a subconscious manifestation in some way. Now, I'm going to expand on that a little bit more later, but I feel like that's what this Magician with the Wheel of Fortune in reverse is saying. I feel like what felt, stable and secure ended up being very much the opposite, because you were fighting for a lot in this. I feel like you were fighting for bare minimum. You were fighting for just being loved in the way that you deserve, or like in general, like just choose me, like just make me feel loved and valued and seen and heard. Like, I don't feel like you were asking for too much here, but I feel like you constantly lacked what you needed. However, it does kind of feel like no matter what, you felt very drawn back to this connection. Because again, going back to the Ace of Wands, I feel like these feelings are very intense. It feels like it's a very magnetic energy and magnetic feeling. And I think that it almost kind of felt, it was like this energy of I'll take whatever I can get from them. And I feel like you did for a while kind of take what you could get until eventually, you know, there is frustration here. There's frustration around why were they never, like, why did they never commit, or why, and that's what it feels like. It feels like commitment, and maybe not even commitment, like even if you're married, like never fully committed, always felt like they were one foot in, one foot out. Like it just felt like you never really had them and had the connection because of the distance, the wall that they built up. And I think that there's this part of you that felt like if that were the case, like if this person would let their guard down, if this could just work out, oh my gosh, dream come true, right? But then it kind of feels like things kind of took a 180 here. And I do think that there's more to why than you think. And I think that things that happened in this right now, it's hard for you to see them clearly. And again, I think that the biggest goal of this reading is to help you find some clarity around this, specifically because I feel, actually I'm going to keep that, specifically because I feel like I'm talking to a collective that is really struggling in their love life, and in particular around having the love that they deserve. So let's just keep going. Let's see what we have for you when it comes to this person's energy toward you. Friendship with boundaries. Knight of Swords is the first card out. Queen of Cups. I feel like this is how they see you, though you could be dealing with a water sign, Pisces, Cancer, or Scorpio. However, I feel like this is how they see you. Two of Wands in reverse. There's that Magician. Ooh, but it's in reverse. Magician in reverse. The Devil. Oof. Okay. We got a lot to unpack with this person. My goodness. Queen of Pentacles in reverse. And then what else? Six of Swords in reverse. Okay. The Moon. Okay. I'm getting a lot of air sign energy here too. But I don't necessarily feel like that is, it doesn't have to be because you're dealing with an air sign. I feel like a big part of why I'm getting so much air sign energy is because this person is very driven by what's going on up here instead of what's going on in here. This person has a tendency to overthink themselves into oblivion, and I feel like their overthinking is never anything good. They are definitely this, they definitely have this, actually that's not even the best way to say that. I was going to say they have this runner tendency, like this tendency to run away from love. I don't feel like that's a tendency. I feel like that's straight up a habit. I feel like that's like a trait of theirs. They do see you as this Queen of Cups, someone who very loving, very compassionate, very understanding. And I feel like they see you in such a beautiful way, really. Like, I don't feel like, but it's interesting because of how much your light really shines, I feel like it triggers a lot of things within them, you know, feelings of not good enough, or like, I don't even know necessarily if that's the right way to say that, or like feelings like they don't deserve all of the wonderful love that you have to provide them. And maybe you saw that. Maybe that was one of the things that you saw and you were understanding about, empathetic about, compassionate about, because yeah, you carried a very compassionate energy through this. It doesn't mean you weren't frustrated. It didn't mean that you didn't get angry. Like, that's not what I'm saying. but I feel like you were very understanding and very compassionate, even though this person kind of consistently pushed you away. Now, the Magician in reverse compared to the Magician is interesting. You know, I talked about how the Magician is like bringing your, you know, the thoughts, beliefs, and actions, like manifesting into reality, right? The Magician in reverse is, the way that I typically read it, is not having the tools that you need to be able to create what you desire. So like lacking the knowledge, or lacking the courage to take action, or lacking the faith or the spiritual connection, or whatever it is. And I feel like in this specific case, it kind of feels like this person lacks the emotional intelligence, because that's what I'm saying with the Queen of Cups. It's like they see you as someone who's very emotionally intelligent, and it's almost like they don't have that. They're not somebody who's very nurturing, very compassionate. In fact, I feel like this person has a tendency to be very cold and standoffish. Not that they're like mean. I don't get that, but I do feel that they're very, maybe they do come off as mean, but I feel like they're just very cold, very standoffish, like not a very warm person. I feel like they have had to protect themselves a lot in their life, and that's something that they continue to do. So they continue to protect themselves from the very thing that they desire, right? This Devil energy is this indication that this person is really caught up in habits and patterns that do not serve them. You know, toxic habits, toxic patterns, toxic traits, like things that, I mean, it could be addiction, it could be just a lot of different things. And I feel like one of the things that makes this connection so difficult is when you're dealing with someone who, I mean, empathetic is the word that comes to mind, who's so empathetic and so understanding, and somebody is doing something to harm themselves, like making decisions that aren't good for them or whatever. Someone who's very empathetic is going to really hold space for that and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you're struggling so much and going through so much. And where the issue starts to arise is where you have so much empathy for the other person and what they're going through and what they're dealing with that you stop having empathy for yourself, where it kind of turns to toxic empathy, which is basically where you give so much empathy to the people around you that you stop having empathy for your own experience. So it's like, I don't care if you mistreat me because I have empathy for the things that you've been through. I don't care if you don't love me the way that I deserve because I understand why you don't, or like where those habits stem from or whatever. One of the best things I ever learned, both in my own personal life and in dealing with other people, is that eventually we get to an age where your healing is your responsibility and not the responsibility of others to bear the burden of. Because if somebody hasn't done the work, because everybody's got work to do in this lifetime. None of us came out of a perfect childhood. None of us came out of this life unscathed. And everybody has work to do. And if you're not willing to do that work, you are going to carry that baggage into every single relationship that you're in, romantic or not. And that baggage is going to become the other person's burden to bear. And if you're dealing with someone who is a little bit more empathetic and understanding, they're going to bear it with a smile. And I feel, Aries, that's kind of what happened here, is you had this, you know, you saw so much good in this person. I do feel like they have a lot of good in them, but I feel like they are so closed off emotionally because of the things that they've dealt with in their life, and they're not dealing with any of it. So you saw this empathy, you saw this, or you had this empathy, you saw all of this good in them and maybe even the light in them, and you did everything you could to bring that out. You pulled and pulled and pulled to try to bring that light out of them. But this person kept pushing back, and that left you in this eventual place of being like, why don't you see how much I love you? Why don't you see how much I value you? Why won't you choose me the way that I choose you? And I think that it eventually, like, this person they ran so far away from this that this connection eventually fell apart in some kind of way. And I think that it's so important for you to know, Aries, that the love that you have to give is so valuable. You know, when you're dealing with somebody who doesn't recognize the value of something so beautiful, you're dealing with somebody who it's not that they're not valuing you enough, it's that they're not recognizing the value in themselves to recognize it in others. You know, everything we see in another person is a reflection of ourselves in some way. And, you know, think of it this way: if you hand somebody a handful of diamonds, a handful of valuable, precious jewels, and they throw it away, or they, you know, are like, no, I don't want that, thank you, and they give it back or whatever, and you go, no, it's my gift, and they're like, no, I don't want it, you're not going to go, well, what's wrong with the diamonds? You're going to go, why are you not open to receiving something so valuable? And I think that it's really important for you to look at this from a different perspective, because if you're not careful, you might take this as proof that what you have to give and the love that you have to give isn't enough. And I'm not saying you're perfect and you've made no mistakes, okay? You can both make mistakes and still be worthy of the love that you give. Like, both of those things can be true, and I think it's really important for you to know that. But on the flip side, I think that this is really a reading about understanding that when you're dealing with somebody who is not doing the work, or is doing, like, working overtime even to push away something so valuable, there's nothing you can do to make them change. So when that's the case, we have to look at the bigger question, which is, why am I trying so hard to find love in places and in people that are incapable of loving me in the way that I deserve? Because that kind of usually gives insight to a bigger cycle, and ultimately the cycle that is blocking you. Because if we stay in the same, dynamics, we're going to experience the same outcomes, sometimes with the same people, sometimes with different people. And then that outcome that we continue to experience, the lack of love or abandonment or betrayal or whatever, we're going to go, this is just the way that love is. Like, I'm never going to have what I deserve, when in reality, there's so much more to the story here. And I feel like Spirit's trying to draw you to that bigger picture. All right, in between this connection, you have divine timing with romance. I'm going to dive deeper into this, looking at the deeper purpose and the best way for you to move forward in alignment with your higher self. Thank you so much, Aries, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Aries.